Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of the five-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman. Joining me in studio today, Eric Vieira, the Joao Pedro lover. We're going to get into that a little bit more. But before we get anywhere, before we do anything, a quick intro. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. LA Galaxy obviously facing off against Atlanta United coming up on Saturday. So in order to do that, we found the man who can best help us preview this game. He just landed in Los Angeles, literally off the plane maybe 10 minutes ago. Everybody, please welcome to the show the one, the only Mr. Dan Gargan. Dan, thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Hey, good to be here.
Dan, you know, I thought maybe you'd come back to LA just to resurrect the Gargs and Gordo guide, but I have a feeling that maybe you'll be here to watch a soccer game and do some color commentary for the game as well.
I am here to watch a soccer game, but I would also say that Gargs and Gordo is never dead. That is still alive, and we're still finding spaces to get it on the air.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really the important thing to come out of this podcast. So we're excited about that.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
it's good news. Breaking news right here.
That's right here at Corner of the Galaxy breaking news. Dan, obviously, you're doing the color commentary for Atlanta United. You've been over there now since they started. Give us a sense of this Atlanta United team, what they've done in the past year and a couple games.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's been pretty well documented how good they've been, how dangerous they can be, how they burst onto the scene. For me, it's been fun to watch. I've kind of had a firsthand seat in just seeing guys like Miguel Almiron and Tito and Joseph and how electric they can be. It's been interesting just to watch from an organizational standpoint, the way that they've kind of come into the league and muscled their way in. I think they're doing things a little bit differently than everybody in this league had done previously. I think they clearly did their homework. They hired a really good group of core executives and then also a really good group of core players. And I think you're seeing that kind of success translate both on and off the field. It's really something to be seen when you are in Atlanta and seeing kind of just the excitement that is in the community and within the organization and surrounding the organization. I think, it's no small part that, both the club and kind of the team and the product that they put on the field are in perfect alignment. It's exciting, it's young, it's fresh, and that seems exactly what is responding to it in Atlanta as the city.
Yeah, and I would say, the start of this season was a little bit of a road bump there, obviously coming out, getting blown out by Houston, but ever since then, everything seems to be pointed in the correct and proper direction. What happened in that Houston game, and what did they learn to really start getting on this now 5-game unbeaten streak?
Yeah, I think, from time to time as a player, I think you also need to get your ego checked every once in a while. And because of the success that I think they all felt last year, and deservedly so, my kind of outsider's perspective is that they came in a little bit too confident. And the rest of the league kind of was watching all last year, probably wasn't necessarily as equipped as they may be today in dealing with a team that looked and was built like Atlanta United, and they came out. And Houston was a decent team. Houston was a decent team last year, and I think they made some upgrades this year. They've had time to kind of gel and be better, and they were probably flew under the radar and had that chip on their shoulder. As we don't get enough respect, we have just as an exciting team and players that can do the same things that Atlanta can do, and Atlanta kind of walked in, and I think they were still working through some things on their end through preseason. And preseason is a big deal. It's a big deal to get your team together, to recenter yourselves and get prepared for, I think, what we're looking at in MLS is a really, really good league right now. And certainly a different league than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially that Eastern Conference. I know Atlanta United just drew 2-2 with New York City. That was sort of the battle for the top of the standings there. What do you think? What do you think you learned from that game in terms of what this Atlanta United team can do? Was it a little surprised that New York City was able to come into Atlanta and get the draw?
I think New York City is a very good team. They have a great midfield. They're able to kind of possess the ball. I don't really think there are too many teams that can outpossess Atlanta United, and that is one of them. And I think Tata's approach to the game kind of reflected that. I think we saw definitely a more defensive-minded Atlanta United than we've seen in the past, more of a 5-3-2 than the 3-5-2 in the attack that they've been. They kind of allowed Miguel and Joseph just to go on solo missions, and both of them are obviously capable of making magic out of pretty much anything. So, I think they sat back. I don't know if New York was necessarily ready for that, but I think you also saw two very good teams kind of going at it. So from what I took away from it was, seeing Atlanta in a different kind of light. They were able to, which I think has been a question mark, how would they do defensively, and are they equipped defensively to kind of handle a very good team? And we saw them, I think bend, but not necessarily break. And City, I think, is going to be a good team that will be around at the end of the year.
Yeah, they certainly seem like maybe they're one of the favorites. Atlanta also penciled in as one of those Cup favorites, so it wouldn't really surprise me to see both of those teams in the playoffs going up against each other. You look at Atlanta United, second, I think scored the second most goals in the league right now. The offense is clearly everything that everybody talks about. You talked a little bit about Miguel Almiron and Joseph Martinez, but what outside of those guys makes the Atlanta offense so dangerous?
Well, I think they're all on the same page. So when they attack, they all attack. And I think everybody believes that, one, Miguel Almiron is never going to lose the ball, which he really doesn't. Mm-hmm. And two, that someone will get on the end of pretty much anything that they put inside the box. So you see guys crash the box with, a committed kind of sense from front post, back post, people following up. I mean, you have Julian Gressel crossing the ball to Greg Garza, who's sitting on the back post. So you have right back to left back, which doesn't happen all the time with teams, but it happens when teams have that confidence in one another that they're going to keep the ball, and you're able to get numbers into the box, into the attack, and numbers that disproportionately unbalance those back lines. And that's where you find problems as a defense, but also where you find a lot of success. It's easy for me to kind of go back to our 2014 team. We had, when I'm on the right, Robbie Rogers is on the left, we're all in the attack. It gives that space. It gives those different angles to Landon, who can create anything, and Robbie to find those angles and find that space where he can get a shot off, and Jockey to slip in behind. Defensively, that's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when you have all those numbers. So Atlanta does a very similar thing because they have the horses in the midfield. They're going to keep it pinned in, and they're also going to keep possession. So it gives that just air of confidence in saying, okay, this guy's not going to lose the ball. I can take these extra 3 steps. I can take that extra space on the line. I can pin and be closer to their defense so that if there is a loose ball, if there is a 50-50, it's happening inside their box, and that's dangerous. That creates goal-scoring opportunities.
Yeah, no, it's and by the way, kudos, you just made everybody in the chat room nostalgic for the 2014 team, the LA Galaxy team, especially after last year and the Galaxy suffering so much. I have to talk about Barco real quick. A $15 million transfer fee being paid. Got to play his first minutes in MLS for Atlanta United in this last game against New York City FC. I think got about 20 minutes. What'd you see from him? What maybe should Galaxy fans expect from him coming into this LA Galaxy game?
I think he's another piece to this Atlanta United attack that has the ability to, one, keep the ball, and two, find that dynamic pass and create that chance. They have guys that will get on the end of chances. Miguel Almiron can cut open a defense. I think Julian Gressel has proved that he can put in a ball from the outside from pretty good angles and put in great service. That's always to be valued. But Barco, he has the ability to kind of wiggle into those tight spaces. He has the ability to connect with teammates, that, South American flair where you're going to 1-2 people to death. And the way that teams kind of have set up against Atlanta, you have to be able to pass around them in tight spaces. So Barco is, I think, another piece that Joseph will feel comfortable playing with. Tito will feel comfortable connecting with. Miguel can work off of, take a little bit of that creative burden off of Almiron so that he can move further up the field and get into those tight spaces as well.
Yeah, it should be a very interesting game. Again, the LA Galaxy face off against Atlanta United at 7:30 p.m. on Saturday night. The big guys, Atlanta, never come to the StubHub Center before. So Dan, you're gonna have to show them around. I know it's your home away from home. We're glad that you're back in Southern California. We appreciate you stopping by, buddy.
Yeah, man. to land in LAX. I miss this place. I have great memories about being an LA Galaxy player.
Number 33 in your scorebook, number 1 in our hearts, Dan. As always, thanks for stopping by, buddy. Appreciate it.
There we go. All right, good luck, guys.
All right, there you go. Mr. Dan Gargan taking off. Great to have Dan stop by. We've been trying to make that work out, and I'm glad that it worked out there at the very last minute, and that's always a good thing. But now we get to come back in and talk to the rest of the crew and get through the rest of the show. Eric Vieira is back in the house talking a little bit Galaxy with us. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing great. If I'm going to be bumped by anyone, being bumped by Gargs, I mean, I'll take it.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
It's probably he was a defender. It's probably not the first person to be bumped by Dan Gargan there. So anyway, yeah, I mean, we have a really great show set up for you. A bunch of stuff. I know it's a little out of order as we normally do the previews at the end, but wanted to catch Dan as soon as he landed. It worked. I'm glad it did. And now the both of us get to talk about the Galaxy. And we haven't talked since Zlatan Day, which is the day that we talk about when Zlatan was officially announced.
Do you remember where you were when Zlatan arrived?
I was right here. That was whenever we were tracking Zlatan in the flight, and that was the Thursday. Yeah, that was the Thursday morning, and all the Thursday. It got announced Thursday morning, right?
It was So it was I think I was here when it was official, but not official.
That's right. Yeah. Kevin Baxter announced it. We knew it was happening, and then we pretended like we didn't know what was happening.
It may not happen.
We may not, but we pretended we knew what was going on and got it. So, what do you think of Mr. Z so far, the big guy?
I'd like to take my victory lap now that I'm here, because at the time I said that Zlatan, even without stepping on the field, improves the Galaxy. And then he stepped on the field, and we saw what happened. I mean, I think everyone who was at the game, and I was fortunate enough to be at that opening game that he played against LAFC, and anyone who was at that game is saying how it was one of the best sporting experiences of their lives. And I have to mirror that. It was to be there. The atmosphere of StubHub was electric. Him scoring 2 goals. Living up to the hype, everything living up and surrounding to it. I may have lost a few items of clothing after that game-winning goal. It was just an amazing, amazing day.
We saw the pictures.
I know. I figured you had, but I have to explain myself. When Zlatan scores 2 and 1 on injury time, emotions happen.
Emotions. I understand. I kept all my clothes on though.
You're in the press box. It's a little different. I was amongst the people. I'm a man of the people, Josh.
You shoot Kevin Baxter though, completely naked.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I absolutely believe it.
The panda, he was naked. That's how it works.
Naked as a panda.
That's exactly how it works. All right. So you've seen that. Obviously, the LA Galaxy get the win over Chicago Fire. A 1-0 win, a beautiful, beautiful 1-0 win. I don't know how anybody could be possibly be disappointed with that.
I think when you look back at that game, I think Siggy, I would equate it to if you go to Vegas and you place all your money right on that opening bet. Yeah. And that's why in part of the Zlatan start, he, instead of having Zlatan and saying he's going to come and he's going to save us in the end, he says, you know what, I'm going to play him right up front. Ugly condition. Let's try to get this win early. And then let's sneak out of here with 3 points or possibly even 1 point. I think people probably would have been happy with 1 point given the way the conditions were and traveling. So I think people would have been happy with a draw. So to come out of there with 3 points is amazing. And obviously they came out hungry and they could have had those goals, but there were the overturns. But they did get one before the end of the half, and I think that set them up to have a successful second half. So I think, you have to be happy. Walking out of Chicago with 3 points.
And that second half was ugly. I mean, it's exactly what you expected it to be, right?
It is what it is, yes, absolutely.
You have wind blowing 25, 30 miles an hour. The ball will not go over the half line. You kept trying. It kept being blown back in.
They talk about windy conditions, but I don't think I've seen a game where the wind actually pushes the ball back like that. I mean, it was pretty intense what those players were going through.
David Bingham said he thinks it's the worst conditions that he ever played in.
Yeah, I believe him.
It wasn't even snowing.
Well, it's almost worse than snow because in snow, I mean, the wind just brings a whole different element affecting the ball. Snow, when it's on the ground or when it's coming down, you can kind of adjust a little bit. But the wind, there's no adjusting to how far it's going to push the ball and how it's going to affect the game.
No, it was a crazy one. So, I mean, you talked about it a little bit. I want to get into the LA Galaxy offense because we're talking about Ola Kamara and what he has brought to the table so far. And I think he's getting some stick. People are not happy with the production that you're getting out of Ola Kamara. Almost had the first goal. It was waved offside, which, by the way, for everybody saying it wasn't offside, including Siggy Schmidt, it was offside. We have proved it, okay? But the offside modeling guys.
You're not a fan, Josh.
I'm
going to start that conversation?
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, it's one of those
that's
things.
Fair.
You look at it, and this is why I follow the offside modeling guys, right? It's just that way I can see these particular results. I want to see the science.
And they take the angles into consideration because, of course, you can pause the TV in certain places and it's always going to look onside. So, yeah, you have to take the math and the science. You're a truther, Josh. I like that.
I'm a truther. Yes, I like truth. I like facts. Give me all those things. So, yeah, so whenever you look at that, I see those things. And then, I saw him almost get on the end of that. He was in a good position. You see him get called offside on the second one, rightfully so. And you sit there and go, listen, he's getting close. And he has been close. But is this offense only Zlatan? I mean, ever since Zlatan's come in, really nobody else has scored. Ever since Zlatan has stepped on the field, nobody else has scored.
Well, when Zlatan comes on, he makes a superstar out of you.
Is this what it is? Is tonight going to be bad Zlatan impressions?
It is.
I have a feeling. Okay,
he's been in the media all week. You got to eat it up. But I think you hit on it. Kamara's been knocking on the door, and I think that something needs to be said for that. Yes, he's been called offside. Yes, the goal technically hasn't come, but he's putting himself in position. You can tell he wants it. So I think it's just a matter of time before that clicks, and he eventually, those start falling in the back of the net.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like I'm panicking about this, and I don't think Ola Kamara is. I don't think Sigi Schmidt is either.
Yeah, and last season when we had Giassi Zardes have his struggles, it seemed like he just couldn't buy a goal. Every time he touched it, it seemed like things would go wrong. The ball would go in the wrong direction. But with Kamara, you feel like it's getting close. It's just a matter of time before it clicks. I don't think we should start worrying just yet.
I'm not going to worry as long as Zlatan keeps scoring. I don't think it doesn't matter.
And like I said, Zlatan he has a force field around him. He draws those defenders, and even if we're saying Zlatan's our only source of offense, then let's use that to our advantage as teams throw defenders at him. That'll open up other players, and eventually he is going to make those passes. He's not going to shoot all of his shots, which it seemed like he was doing against Sporting Kansas City. But eventually he's going to, gel and get the team moving, and it's going to be a good thing. So I'm not worried about the offense.
Yeah, it doesn't. I worry more about the defense on the flip side of things,
especially against an Atlanta United team.
Yeah, it's going to. I mean, somebody was like, "Oh, all you need to do is keep Atlanta United off the board." Good luck with that. Which means the Galaxy are going to have to score goals. So even just going to that, I mean, there's been a lot of blame put a lot of places. I will say this. I mean, Sigi is a more conservative coach than other coaches, so he doesn't want his guys going forward unless they're in a good position to do so. And you see what happens whenever you play that system and you choose to go forward in places where it's not a good chance to be. You get scored on 2 times in 5 minutes.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, when you push unnecessarily or you pick the wrong spots.
Yeah.
Then that it comes back to bite you.
Yeah, and this is the whole thing. A lot of praise has been heaped on Ashley Cole for getting the assist to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Those 2 smart guys going together and making that
happen. High soccer IQ.
It's simple, it's easy, it makes a ton of sense. It's also a position where Sigi Schmidt can put in somebody like Dave Romney and push Ashley Cole into the midfield, which everybody told Cardinalfo he was crazy to do. But when Sigi does it, it's a genius move. But anyway, you look at that, and so again, I look at the offense, and you look, Chris Pontius has scored. Sebastian Lletget has scored. Roman Alessandrini seems like he's primed to get 1 or 2 here real soon.
There's another guy who's hungry for one. You could tell that when you see that desire, that's when I know that the goals are going to come from Roman. They're going to come from Kamara. They're going to put themselves in the right position, and it's going to get in there.
Yeah, and that is, again, it's just about building. And you look at these guys. These guys have Sebastian Lletget, Roman Alessandrini, and Jonathan Dos Santos played for the first time in a game together ever.
Yeah, that was crazy. When you mentioned that on a previous show, you say, well, wait, that doesn't make sense. And then when you actually think about it, yeah, it does make sense. They've never actually played together. So yes, there's some gelling that needs to happen. And the fact that they were moving forward so well in the beginning at the Chicago game, that's a good sign. The fact that it's their first time on the field together and the chemistry seemed to be there. At least to me, it looked like it was there.
It is. It's just rusty. It's not formed yet.
It's not firing on all cylinders, but the engine's on.
It's like your first date. You're really excited, but you don't know where to put your hands, and you're sweating a lot, right? I mean, that's.
I'll go along with you on that one.
Stretching. But no, I mean, this is part of the chemistry that needed to be built in the offseason. They got some of that, and then everybody got hurt, so they haven't played in these games. You haven't done it. Now, unfortunately, they run up against an Eastern Conference juggernaut, and I need to say that in no uncertain terms. Atlanta United is a cup favorite, maybe even over New York City. But those 2 teams are so good that you look at it. But now look at the Galaxy played New York City. You saw what the score was. That was in New York City on the post stamp. 2-0, right? That wasn't a game. 2-1. That's right. Jonathan Dos Santos
got one.
That's right. It was almost almost
forgettable.
Forgot. Yeah, it was one of those.
and to your point, again, being on the small field, that was obviously to NYC's advantage. And the Galaxy, even though they went down, a couple goals. They were able to show some fight in that second half. So if you take last week's game with Atlanta and NYC at face value, you would think that the Galaxy being at home, that they're not going to get blown out of the water like they did last season. At least on paper, you would hope not.
Yeah, and you feel like this is going to be a different game. You feel like the Galaxy have some momentum building. Granted, it wasn't that long ago that they had momentum building and they got stomped by Sporting Kansas City, who I told everybody wasn't as good as they. Yeah, well, I was wrong.
Yeah.
So apparently they are, or the Galaxy aren't as good. It's one of those two.
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, and that's sort of the hard thing is that even as this Galaxy team, even as we look at this Galaxy team, Eric, we still don't know what they are yet. I mean, here's the big question right now is that we talked about the offense struggling a little bit and trying to find some things. We talked about, the defense struggling a little bit, and now you're going to have something that they haven't had in a while, which is Giovanni Dos Santos. He's been training all week. He's been putting in the time. If you're a betting man, you probably bet that he gets some minutes in this game. He's still on the bench. I don't think you're starting him, but he's on the bench. But we get into the problem of where does Giovanni Dos Santos fit? First of all, we had this problem even when he was starting.
when he was in,
when he was playing in the game. But now he's coming off the bench. Now you're going to put him into this lineup that supposedly is going to have Ola Kamara and Zlatan Ibrahimovic and Roman Alessandrini and Sebastian Lletget and Jonathan Dos Santos and Perry Kitchen. Which one of those guys are you taking out to put Giovanni Dos Santos in?
I think the odd man out is Sebastian Lletget, and people might not be happy with that, but given his injury, I think that's the safe play, is that you're not going to, if precedent has been set, that you're bringing your guys, you're easing your guys in who have been on injury, which they did with Lletget, which they've done with Alessandrini, that they're probably going to do a similar thing with Gio. And if they're going to be careful with injuries, then Sebastian Lletget is a guy who you want to protect. So he's going to be the odd man out. And then you might have some shifting with the midfield and moving people around. But the question is, what formation do you go with? Because I don't know that you put Gio out left.
But why would you want to? Why would you want to mess that up? I mean, trying to put Gio anywhere but out left seems like, or even outright move Roman Alessandrini out left. I don't care. On either of the wings, right? Just however you want to do that. I mean, here's the thing. In this game, it might not be a big a deal. Maybe you can bring Gio in for Zlatan in the last 15 minutes.
That's also if they get off to a good start and Zlatan does what he is famous for, and he does well, and he's able to get his sweat on, and we all know he's complained about the heat in the past, so maybe he goes 65-70 minutes, and then you bring Gio on and he gets 20 minutes, and there's no issue at all because you're putting Gio as a forward, which is where he's played in the past, and you don't have to mix things up at all. So that's definitely a possibility as well.
Yeah, we'll see how that all comes down. If you have an opinion on Giovanni Dos Santos, please, we'd love to have you come in here and give it to us. 949-734-4217 is our call-in number. You can feel free to do that. Phones will be open now here for a little while as we continue on with this stuff. But I mean, here's the big deal is that for the Galaxy who are trying to find themselves, they're running up against a team who knows who they are. Granted, they're trying to work in Barco, and you can talk about, $15 million transfer fee blows. Do you remember the times when MLS was like, we don't pay transfer fees, and now you're out there spending $15 million? It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah, what a time to be alive.
It is crazy. So he gets 20 minutes. It depends. I imagine that he'll get more than 20 minutes in this game. Yeah. Maybe he even gets a whole half, or maybe it's 35 minutes. Maybe they're working him back into this, but that's something the Galaxy haven't seen much of. They've only seen 20 minutes so far this year. You look at the team like Atlanta United, who is so speedy, so fast. The team speed, as Dan Gargan said, was one of the reasons that maybe they have so much success. So I mean, these are all things that are not working towards the LA Galaxy right now. Whenever you look at this, and we have a telephone call, so let's get it in. 323. Who's this?
This is Bobby.
Bobby, what's happening, buddy?
Hey, I just want to say that I agree with everything you guys are saying tonight. As far as like our offense and how we're just waiting, it's for everything to kind of click, and then we're gonna have like Kamara scoring, and hopefully, have other players producing, not just Zlatan.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby, when you look at it, and I say the names, you say Zlatan Ibrahimovic, you say Ola Kamara, you say Roman Alessandrini, Jonathan Dos Santos, Sebastian Lletget. That's a fierce.
There's goals on the table.
There's goals there, right, Bobby? I mean, this isn't a thing. If you're putting that lineup in FIFA, you're like, okay, I'm going to score some goals on that, right?
Yeah, it's bound to happen.
But do you think that Siggy Schmidt is getting in the way of any of this? Do you think his conservative tactics, do you think the game has passed him by, as so many people have said? If you look at all this stuff, is Siggy Schmidt a problem on this?
I'm not sure, and I don't think so yet, at least. Because honestly, we still haven't figured out our formation yet.
Right.
And again, it's a thing that it's because the players are coming in and out. Players are getting injured. I don't think it's necessarily his fault. I just think it's under the circumstances we're having right now. He's doing the best with what we have available.
All right. Hey, and the Galaxy not off to a bad start. We appreciate the call, Bobby. Thanks for calling in, buddy. Appreciate it. No, I mean, he's right. Siggy Schmidt has... Listen, it's been really easy to pick a starting formation here, Eric, because you basically say, okay, who's healthy, and y'all start.
And 4-4-2, yeah. The missionary position of soccer position.
Hey, you know what? It's because it's so good, okay? It's because it's so good. It's a favorite for a reason, all right?
But I think what you might be saying is maybe we solve our issue by mixing up our formation. If they did like a 4-3-3 and we have Zlatan, Gio, and Kamara up front as 3 forwards, maybe that changes things. So is Siggy the type of guy to try something adventurous like that? Definitely not this weekend, but at some point, maybe, that's something that he wants to play with. Or is he going to does he have his style, his set way of doing things, and he's not budging and he's going to plug the guys into the system? But like you said, right now, it's working out because the players that are available are the players that fit his system. So we'll see if everyone's healthy, and that's a luxury, then maybe he's able to play around with his lineup later in the season, and we could see if maybe that changes things.
My big thing whenever you start talking formations like that, and we sort of try to guess, how they're going to do, is that Perry Kitchen is such an important part to this that you have to keep him on the field, right? So when you go into a 4-3-3, where does he sit, and does he pair with Carrasco, and then do you lose guys?
You're losing the middle. You're losing your engine of the lineup. So that's the trade-off.
Well, and he is a defender. Let's be honest. Perry Kitchen is the 5th defender, and he's the guy that allows guys like Ashley Cole to get forward or Ralph Felcher to get forward and not have to worry that their space isn't being covered. And that's been the big difference between this year and last year, is having that number 6 back there, being that strong defensive midfielder, being a guy who isn't going to abandon people. And that's why it doesn't work as well whenever they go the double pivot with Carrasco in there. But I could see a lineup that had Jonathan Dos Santos, Perry Kitchen, and Servando Carrasco all sort of in there. I mean, that's
the battle axe lineup there.
Jonathan goes forward, so that would be, you basically have 4 attackers, and then you would have 6 defenders that you could throw. It's not horrible if you go 4-3-3 and do that, but you're losing guys like Sebastian Lletget then.
You're losing your winger speed there.
And Roman Alessandrini. Yeah. These are 2 guys, and granted, you can put them in different spots and do different things. And listen, everybody's going to yell at me. No, don't do that. I'm just throwing stuff against the wall here.
And to go... Why the offense, when you look at guys like Ralph Felcher and Ashley Cole, who have been pushing up and attacking because of someone like Perry Kitchen, maybe that's not something you want to play with, because those guys are moving up so much, so you don't need the extra forwards because they're kind of taking that place. Dan Gargan mentioned it in 2014 with him and Robbie Rogers going on the flanks, and then you have all the talent in the middle. That's a nightmare for people. So if they can keep creating similar situations, then that would be a good thing. So the defense being a good part of the offense is part of why we're weak at defense.
Yeah, it is. It is. You're right. Yeah. I'll say this, that whenever you mentioned 2014 and MLS Cup, my mind immediately went back there. I just keep thinking that if Omar Gonzalez would have just had a little bit of hustle in there, that game is 1-0 in regular time, and you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to have Robbie Keane save you, in extra time there. So we have another phone call here, if I can click buttons and turn knobs. 424, who's this?
Hey, Josh, this is Hugh from Reddit.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I'm very, very excited about Saturday's game because I know it's not going to be a snooze fest like the SKC game. I know there's going to be goals. I know there's going to be exciting soccer. I know Atlanta's going to bring out the best in us. So am I expecting a win? Maybe. I think we can pull one off, but it's going to be an exciting game nonetheless. Now, I did want to say a couple of things regarding our formation. And if I could make some observations, we look at Atlanta. In my opinion, the number 1 team in the league right now. Doesn't reflect in the standings, but honestly, they are just 6 guys deep that are like super offensive,
yes,
top-notch players. Now, you look at their playmaker, Miguel Almiron, the guy has 3 goals and 3 assists. You take away Almiron from that team, and how does the offense look?
Yeah, it starts to get a little more anemic. But how? I mean, I'm sure, no offense, but I'm sure you're not the first person to ever say, "Hey, let's just take the ball away from Miguel Almiron." So trying to do that is a totally different thing than just saying that.
Right. I was actually going to make the comparison of Atlanta and how they play. To us, we have pieces comparable to Atlanta. We have an Alessandrini on the wing, could be compared to a Villalba, although I would choose Alessandrini over a Villalba. We have a Kamara, who I would say is comparable to a Joseph Martinez. We have a Zlatan now.
I was waiting for the comparison.
Don't you dare!
I was waiting for the comparison of who's. I was like, there isn't one. That's not going to happen. No, but go ahead, continue.
Yeah, of course not. I'm just saying we have these offensive pieces. And to me, it does not make sense to me right now, why we're not producing as much as we should. I know we've had some injuries. We're still kind of gelling. A lot of players are new. But you got to remember, Atlanta's a fairly new team. They all started playing together for the first time ever last season. And it was like they were ready to go right from the start line.
Yep.
So, I think we need that Miguel Almiron type player. We get a Miguel Almiron type player in the LA Galaxy, and we are as lethal as Atlanta, if not more so.
Yeah, well, Giovanni Dos Santos is that guy. Oh, no. I know people don't believe that, and I don't believe it when I say it.
At your radios
I was going to say, I don't believe it either, but he is technically that guy.
Supposed to be that.
He's supposed to be that playmaker. He's supposed to be the dazzling he's, as Dan Gargan said, a guy who doesn't lose the ball. That's supposed to be Giovanni Dos Santos. Mm-hmm. We just haven't seen that Gio.
And now one last thing. I'm all up for getting assists from Ashley Cole. The guy is still, in my opinion, world class. There's moments of brilliance there where I see world class. But, there should be no team on planet Earth where the majority of your assists to your main striker are coming from your left back. Maybe 5-6 assists during a season. That's great. But, you have to rely on the rest of your players, too,
Yeah.
I'm hoping Leggett steps up, Alessandrini steps up, and, Jonathan steps up a little bit, too. Let's get it going, man. I'm really excited for Saturday. I'm going to keep listening to the show, and good job, guys.
All right, thanks. You appreciate it. All right, good call there. No, it is supposed to be Giovanni Dos Santos. We know that.
That's what we're paying him to be.
That's $5.5 million. Whether he wants it or not, he's getting $5.5 million every year. So that is what Gio's supposed to be. And if he can be that, you're cooking with fire again. We still have to figure out where he plays. I'm not. You said not on the wing, but I don't know where else you. The middle of the field is very. You got Jonathan Dos Santos, who's not going to put anything else. Mm-hmm. You got Perry Kitchen, who do not take Perry Kitchen off of this team. So you look at all of this stuff and you say, okay, where does Gio fit? And Gio's not going to be a sub at $5.5 million.
And I think having him on one of the wings, to me, is where I would want him. I think that's where it makes the most sense. But I think it also comes down to, is that where he's going to be motivated to play well also? So if he doesn't want to be out there, you're not going to get the best product from Gio as well. So you have to play a little bit of the politic game as well to see. You got to keep Gio happy if you want to see good results from him.
Yeah.
And then going back to what our friend was saying there, the goals, they're going to come, because even that Sporting Kansas City game, the Galaxy were held scoreless, but there were goals there.
Yeah.
We were hitting posts. The chances
3 posts.
The chances were happening.
10 saves.
So to say that, we're not scoring, the pieces it's all there. It's just a hair off here and there.
So close.
Yeah.
So
Almost
close.
had it.
Almost had it. It just makes me think of Happy Gilmore and like, get in your hole. Are you too good for your hole? No, that's where the Galaxy is. Here we go to an email question we got from David. David in Sherman Oaks. He writes in, Josh, thanks for all the hard work. I love the show and anxiously await each new episode as I would an episode of Game of Thrones.
Oh wow!
Side note for me here: less nudity on this show. Well, you're here. Who knows how it'll go? Less nudity on this show.
Speak for yourself.
Than the Game of Thrones. He puts out a hypothetical. He says, in the dream world of transferring Gio away, would Zlatan or his agent expect the DP slot and commiserate money to go and commiserate, not commiserate, commiserate money It's okay. I went to Arizona State. And commiserate money to go to Zlatan. Are there two possible outcomes if Gio is transferred? Get a new DP, or Zlatan becomes a DP and we could get a new player who earns Zlatan's $1.5 million. What position do you think should be addressed, and is the answer different depending on the slot involved? So, if...
There's a lot going on there.
I know. So here's the scenario. Make it quick. Here it is. Giovanni Dos Santos gets transferred away someplace, magical place where he's making more money, and they want him. And that opens up a designated player spot. Does Zlatan take that DP slot? Do you think his agent and him are expecting the DP slot? Or is he happy with the $1.5 million you get to go out and spend on a designated player?
So I think that's a really difficult question, because if Zlatan didn't come out on fire, then maybe that's an easier thing to handle. But I think if in this fantasy land that we're living in with the dragons from Game of Thrones, where Gio is able to go away magically, Zlatan, I think, has the leverage to say, listen, look what I've done in a month. And so I'm deserving of taking that DP slot, so I need to take that DP slot for the next year that I'm here. So I think that wouldn't be unreasonable for him to ask of that.
Right.
And so it's just a matter of, is the Galaxy willing to do that, and what would be the repercussions if they don't?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. I think he, like we said, he's definitely earned what we're paying him now already.
Here's
would he be worth more?
Here's the thing: if you do that, then what position should they address? So let's say that you open up a spot. It doesn't matter whether it's a DP or a TAM spot. Let's say it's TAM. Let's say slot on. So you have $1.5 million. What position do you go after?
I think it's an
wait. Hold on. Wait. I was going to say, you can't bring Joao Pedro back from LA Galaxy 2 with the money.
We knew we were going to go there.
I just didn't want to.
Well, then I guess you don't want to solve the Galaxy's problem. That's
right.
He's the answer.
That's
Joao
right.
Pedro is the answer.
That's right.
To me, he would bring an attacking midfielder, an engine, like our caller was saying. Almiron is the engine of that team. He's the one who creates. And right now, I think that's what this team lacks as well, is that number 10 who's going to create everything from the center and move forward. Jonathan, I think, initially was billed to be someone who moves forward, but to me, I don't see him as the creator in that role. So I think we need someone who has that vision. And I always go back to this, is Cienfuegos was someone who I always admire, because he just was the maestro in the middle, and he pulled all the strings. So a player like that, if they could find someone who fits in that TAM bill, who's able to pull the strings like that, that's what I would do if I were in this fantasy world.
Yeah, in the fantasy. To continue the fantasy world, one, I disagree with you, but I'm going to tell you,
of course,
in the chat room,
that's why we're here.
I'm so happy that we disagree, by the way. It makes me, I'm always
we usually are in line. So
I know we are, so we disagree. Because I'm going to go off the wall, which is going to break a bunch of my rules, which I can't wait to do, because there'll be people calling me all sorts of names. In the chat room, Logan is saying trade Gio for Lee Win. Because Lee Win and New England. But okay, so
again, I love that you guys watch HBO. You all love fantasy and fiction. Good for you guys, but we need to come back to our world, because that's not going to happen.
So somebody asked,
but this is fun. I'll play along.
Somebody asked if we could get Pato banned, absolutely banned. Somebody did say poor Pedro, by the way. So see, you have a friend,
a sympathizer.
You have a Pedro.
You got a raw deal. Justice for Pedro.
I will tell you, if the Galaxy got rid of Giovanni Dos Santos and let's say they gave Zlatan the DP spot, with that $1.5 million TAM, I'd go out and get a TAM defender, a $1.5 million defender, either a center back or a right back.
Okay.
All right. Now, I like Rolf Felcher. I actually think he's playing okay. Mm-hmm. He's not great. He's better going forward than he is defensively. Sometimes that's a problem for a defender, but it's okay. We're going to live with it. Ashley Cole, I think, is doing fine, and Dave Romney can be that backup. That gets to be a problem next year. The problem's not this year. Go with it.
But I like that, and you disagree with me, but I'll agree that you disagree. So this is wheels within wheels. Because if you do make that move, it's a move for the future. Because obviously Ashley Cole's not going to play for the next 5 years.
Right.
So if you do get a TAM, right back, who is going to be the guy in waiting, and you could use them for this season in spots, then that'd be a good move. And then the center back, you can't argue. No one's going to turn away a good center back, and I think TAM money is where you want to spend. You don't want to spend a DP slot for a center back. So if you can get, a TAM center back who's good, a la, a Yella Van Dam or an Omar Gonzalez in his prime, then that solves a lot of issues also.
Oh, and Omar Gonzalez that hustles though. Everybody wants Omar back. They're like, bring Omar back. I'm
Not
like,
now.
No. I'm like, no. I remember MLS Cup. He didn't run after a ball, and it almost cost him the MLS Cup. Anyway. But no, so I will tell you, I'd even break my rules on this one, which I don't break. There's certain rules Josh has to MLS. You know these things, right? One is that in Los Angeles you need stars and you need winning, and if you do it without one or if you don't do it without one or the other, that it doesn't matter. So if Zlatan's on this team and they're not winning, nobody going to show up. Nobody cares. Yeah. It's like, oh, it's Zlatan. Okay, he's cool, but they're losing and they suck, and I don't want to go. That's one of my rules. The other one is you do not spend DP money on a defender. That is ridiculous and stupid, and I would totally do it if Zlatan is still your TAM player.
Let me put the pressure on you here. Yes. So we're living in Westeros, the fantasy world of Game of Thrones. Where the DP slot opens up, you get to purchase a defender. Which defender out in the world is worth DP money right now?
I don't know. This is okay. So here's my thing. I want everybody to be very clear, and that normally I don't ask myself these questions, mostly because my breadth of knowledge in the world of football, I'm so focused on Galaxy that I don't get to venture outside, okay? But the other part of that is I have no idea who's going to be available, and every time somebody comes available, I'm surprised. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy. Well, that seems like a good one. I mean, look at the Galaxy going after somebody like Jorgen Skjelvik. Yeah, who... I'm sure there's somebody's going to write in and say, I've
been following the Tippelagen for 7 seasons, and I knew this was coming.
I knew Jorgen was coming the whole time. So I mean, all these things, it's just these random guys. I never would have thought Perry Kitchen would have came back and played in Major League Soccer after going to Europe. Granted, he was not seeing as much time, and that he had moved from Scotland over to one of the Denmark, I think maybe it was one of the Scandinavian leagues, something like that. And so it makes sense, but at the same time, I don't have my eyes open to that all the time, so I don't know. But I would say that if you're going to go out there and you're going to spend money, maybe you could even go young. Maybe you get a young attacking defender that's a designated player. Maybe you even go young DP and save yourself some money. So you do these things, and I'm the person who says never sign a designated player as a defender. But here's why I can get around that and how I can talk myself into it. Zlatan Ibrahimovic is your designated player. We all know that. Even if he doesn't have the moniker, he's the best player on the field. So I'm okay with taking a designated player spot if he doesn't take it in this dream scenario.
To me, he's earned it.
All right, we got 951. Who's this?
Hey, what's up, guys? It's James.
Hey, James. Thanks for calling in, buddy. What do you got?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I don't know how I felt about the game against Chicago. I know, the conditions weren't the greatest, but
they were horrible, James. They weren't just not the greatest. They were. It's almost borderline. Do you really play in those? Is a tornado coming?
Exactly.
Is the grass going to stay down on the field?
If it were a high school game, it would have been called off.
It would have been called. No high school people. They're not playing. So it was horrible. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and then also, I'm not sure you guys know this, but I don't know what was up with Jonathan Dos Santos, and I think Gio, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think he's just hiding.
You think Gio's hiding?
I think he's hiding. I think he's just...
Go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like he knows he's not going to be playing a lot, and I think he's just trying to maybe play the injured card for as long as he can, for then Zlatan and Ola Kamara will just kind of keep playing. But yeah, I think Gio's just hiding.
James, you know that if I had inside information about Giovanni Dos Santos hiding, that I would tell you, right?
Exactly.
And you know that if you said that he was hiding, and then I knew that he wasn't hiding, that I would tell you, right?
Exactly.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, James. We appreciate it.
James, he's winking at me. He's winking at me, James.
That's how it goes. James, we appreciate the call. Thanks for calling in. Anybody else wants to get in? 949-734-4217. About 15 minutes left in the show, getting towards Atlanta United. Yes, Eric.
And I just want to, going back to what James says, is Gio hiding? Is he not hiding? That's really tough with injuries. But I will say that appearances, given, the performance that we've seen from him recently, there's no better time for Gio to put it all on the field than right now. The spotlight is on the LA Galaxies. Everyone's watching with Zlatan. You got Atlanta, who's an MLS Cup favorite, coming to town. If he is going to show up and show us, that he's got it, this is the time to see a motivated guy. If he's has, the pride and the hunger that we want to see him play, then this is it. We got to see it from him now, because we got a World Cup coming up. We got LA. The spotlight is on LA, so he's got to show us what he's got. Because if he has been hiding, he can't hide now, because now he's got to put all his cards on the table.
The chat room is suggesting Sergio Ramos as a defender, as
a DP player. I've seen that before. Yeah.
Okay. Christian Pulisic as well. I mean,
you guys, this fantasy world is something else, man. I want to go there.
I was gonna say maybe my high school crush that I had on, maybe she'll just magically be my wife now too. all these things can be possible in the dreamland you guys are creating, and I appreciate. I mean, it's a nice dreamland.
Sergio Ramos seems feasible because of his age and given the history of what's happened in the past with MLS signing. So that wouldn't be too far of a reach, but paying him DP money, I don't know if I would do that.
DP money is just anything
it's
over.
Just money.
It's just
money, guys.
It's just like $500, and you could pay him $509,000 and it's a designated player. I don't know. I have to look at my notes again. $504,375 is max budget charge in 2018. So that's where that goes as well. Let's go and transition a little bit here as we get closer. And if you are people who like the big game previews that I do sometimes,
that's why I came, guys.
That's why Eric came. That's why you all showed up and waited till the very end. We will be doing that a little bit later. So that's a nice little tease.
Ooh, great tease. I got excited. I was sitting back in my chair.
You were like, "Oh, it's time for me to rest."
Got my popcorn ready for the Josh Guesman world famous game preview. Man, great tease.
Let's see. We have a question from or an email from Far. Writes in and says, "I'm going to assume he." I know maybe that's sexist of me, but Far, I'm gonna say he. Recent devotee to your show, longtime follower of the beautiful game in the City of Angels. Remember the original LA Wolves in the summer of 1967. I was there for their thrilling 6-5 finals overtime win at the Coliseum in front of 18,000 fans. I digress. I missed if you guys discussed the hurried-up Ola Kamara contract extension. My take is that it is hush money for Ola to do all of the running for Zlatan. Peace from Far. All right, thanks, Far. Appreciate it. Welcome to the show. Welcome to listening. We thank you for writing in Ola Kamara's contract extension. Now, if you remember correctly, and I don't mean to toot my own horn, Corner of the Galaxy and myself were the ones to confirm that rumor with Ola Kamara himself, and it went something like this: asking him a whole bunch of questions about the Sporting Kansas City game, and then popped in so I hear congratulations are in order on your contract extension. And he looks at me and he goes, "Really?" And I go, that's what ESPN is reporting. So I go, "Are congratulations in order?" And he goes, "Huh, maybe." And I said, "So is that a yes?" He's like, "Yes."
He says it's a maybe.
It's a maybe.
Now leave me alone.
No. I was grilling. I was looking him in the eye. I was giving him the little Josh dance that I do. I have no idea. But no, you come in and so he said yes, and he confirmed it. Now, here's what he told me, and I thought this was interesting. I said it's 3 years, and he goes, "Well, it's 2 + 1. 2 years plus an option." We knew that. I didn't ask him about the money. That's above my pay grade. They never respond anyway, so it's one of those. But he did say that I said, "Well, was this what you were expecting when you came to Los Angeles?" And he said all of the teams that were interested in me were looking at a similar contract. So I would say this isn't necessary. This seems like something that if you were going to bring in Ola Kamara, you were signing him to an extension. You were already going to bring him in. It was almost part of the deal. Yeah. And who knows when that deal got signed? I didn't ask, and nobody's really dug in. It could have been, whenever he first came in here, and it just got out now. Yeah. So I don't know that it's hush money, but it is certainly motivational in the terms of, hey, you're getting $1 million. You can handle Zlatan, whatever. What if you think you're going to get the ball a little less? Yeah,
I think I don't see it as hush money. I think, like you said, if you were going to bring him in and he's saying that other suitors were willing to offer him something similar, then it's likely that the Galaxy were going to offer him that anyway. But I think if he didn't get an extension at all, he was going to do all the running for Zlatan anyway, because that's just the nature of the game. So I don't think you need to pay him extra to do that. But what this does, and I think if it was done after the fact, is it sends a message to him to listen. I know Zlatan's getting all the attention. I know he's the guy right now, but know that you're important to us and we're investing in you moving forward. I think that sends a nice message from the club to him. So it helps keep him motivated to know that he's still one of the apples of their eye. That's how I look at it.
It's like getting your.
I'm being a sweet guy.
It's like getting a girlfriend a promise ring, and you got it. It's like, hey, we like you.
You knew where I was
like going. You like me. Let's do this for a while. Yeah. Let's go steady. What do you say?
You're in my future plan. Yeah. You're going to wear my Letterman's jacket.
That's right.
We're going to let everyone know that we're for real.
That's right. That works. That makes a ton of sense. All right. That's how that goes. Phone line's going to close them down now. We're going to move on a little bit here. I want to get the MLS standings, give you an update on where everybody stands. Eastern Conference is the best conference. East is best. West is not. That's just the way it looks, and it has been for the last couple of years now. New York City FC currently in first place in the Eastern Conference, 17 points. Atlanta United, 13 points. New England Revolution, 10. New England Revolution are way up on that. Good for them. Good for them. Don't spend
that was
any money.
Condescending. Good for.
Don't spend any money. They play at a horrible stadium. Let's see what else is bad. Oh, they barely. If you need a foreign roster spot, you can just go to them. They're the foreign roster spot. They're for sale.
New England Revolution, the foreign roster warehouse.
That's right. You know, Robert Kraft out there standing with a sign. He's got one of those like inflatable like men who falls over with a thing. Anyway, Columbus Crew at 10 points, Orlando City at 10 points. So a little bunch there. New York Red Bulls at 9, Montreal at 6, Philadelphia at 5, DC at 5. Chicago Fire in 10th place with 4 points, and Toronto FC doesn't mean anything, folks, is last in the Eastern Conference.
Way too early.
They are fully focused on not drinking the water in Mexico, apparently, and also trying to focus on the CCL and overcome the 2-1 beating they took in Toronto. To Chivas in Guadalajara. So that'll be interesting to see that return leg, which happens next week. Then you go into the Western Conference, Sporting Kansas City at 14 points. Remember, that's the team the LA Galaxy could not beat in the Western Conference. Then you have the Vancouver Whitecaps, who sit in 3rd, LA Galaxy in 2nd, Los Angeles Football Club in 4th, FC Dallas 5th, Colorado 6th, Real Salt Lake 7th with 7 points, Minnesota United in 8th with 6 points, Houston Dynamo in 9th, San Jose, Portland, and the Seattle Sounders have 1 point, 0 wins, only 1 draw, having played only 4 games, however. So they are a little CCL that they got a break at the beginning of the year as well, though they crashed out. So
yeah, that's tough with the expansion in the fewer games. It's tough to measure, especially with not enough sample size to see where they're going to land. But it is surprising to see Toronto and Seattle both at the bottom of their conferences.
Yeah, and if you really, again, and this is how it is in Major League Soccer when they don't necessarily play the same number of games all the time, go by the points per game. Yeah. New York City is the overall points per game leader in 2.43, but it would then jump to Atlanta United in 2nd instead of Sporting Kansas City. Whenever you look at the Supporters' Shield, Atlanta United is the 2nd best team in the league, and then it will go to Sporting Kansas City, and you have teams like New England and Orlando and the LA Galaxy, who actually have a better points per game than the Columbus Crew, who sit above them right now in the Supporters' Shield. Last in the league, again, is Seattle down there at the very bottom. LA Galaxy have a busy schedule coming up, and lots of tough teams, too. Atlanta United on Saturday, we're going to talk about that one and preview that one soon, but we're also... They also will host New York Red Bulls before the homestand is over, and then it's 3 games away. So New York Red Bulls on April 28th, Houston Dynamo on Saturday, May 5th, FC Dallas, so back-to-back Texas trips on May 12th, Saturday, May 12th. Monday, May 21st is the game in Montreal. That's an away game. That is the longest road trip in Major League Soccer, I'm pretty sure. It's one of the longest, which is Los Angeles to Montreal, and it's some like 6.5-hour flight or some ridiculous thing.
Just doesn't sound fun.
No, it doesn't. And that may be the last game that anybody plays before the World Cup guys get called out, is that Montreal game. That may be it. You have a home game against San Jose Earthquakes on May 25th, and then a home game against FC Dallas on May 30th. Both of those look like they're probably going to start falling into the World Cup gravity as guys get called up and have to go to camp before the World Cup even starts, and then the Galaxy end up having, I think, 10 days off in those World Cup break in order to do that stuff. So that is the extremely busy and extremely good teams. I mean, New York Red Bull is no bad team. Atlanta's no bad team. Houston, the Galaxy, at least how they're standing right now, they should be able to beat Houston, but it's on the road in Texas, on the road against FC Dallas, which is a good team, undefeated team, only undefeated team in Major League Soccer. So, Eric, I mean, there's no breaks here for a very long time.
I mean, I guess the only saving grace is that when you do see Atlanta United and New York Red Bull, is that you're getting them at home. You're not having to make the road trip and then go into a hostile atmosphere. You're getting them in your house. So those, I would say, are the two toughest games of the bunch, but the Texas road trip is going to be difficult as well.
Oh, it's going to be extremely difficult. So we'll see how the LA Galaxy do with all those. So that is where we stand now with the LA Galaxy and the schedule, which means that there's only one thing left to do. Eric,
hit it with them, Josh.
Here we go. Your LA Galaxy will host Atlanta United on Saturday, April 21st, 7:30 p.m. at StubHub Center. This game will be broadcast on Spectrum Sportsnet and Spectrum Deportes. The LA Galaxy 3-2-1, 10 points, 6 games played, 2nd in the Western Conference and 7th in the Supporters' Shield, go against Atlanta United 4-1-1, 13 points, 6 games played, 2nd in the Eastern Conference and third in the Supporters Shield. Last game for Atlanta United was a 2-2 draw against league-leading New York City FC in Atlanta, where they got goals from Greg Garza and Chris McCann. Atlanta is, as we said, second in the East with 13 points behind just New York City, who has 17 points, and Atlanta has scored the second most goals in the league, 15 behind New York City's 17 goals. Last game was that 2-2 draw against New York City and had previously beat LAFC 5-0, with both of those games taking place in Atlanta. Venezuelan Joseph Martinez is the league's leading scorer with 5 goals, tied with Sporting Kansas City's Felipe Gutierrez, and Paraguayan Miguel Almiron leads MLS with shots with 33 and has scored 3 goals and 4 assists. Ezequiel Barco is the 19-year-old, $15 million Argentinian who made his MLS debut last week, going 20 minutes. And Barco, of course, was transferred into the offseason and has been sitting out with a quad injury. Now the big question, Eric, can the LA Galaxy do anything to stop this high-paced, high guns, lots of shots, lots of offense from Atlanta United? Do they have the weapons in store?
Do you want a quick answer?
Yeah.
No. But also yes. Wait, what did I just say there? So I'm going to go back. So Atlanta United, like you mentioned, they have Almiron, they have Joseph Martinez. That's as deadly a duo as you could find around the league. So it definitely scares me when you see those guys. And then when you have Ezequiel Barco coming off the bench, if he's lives up to the hype, then he's another guy who they're going to throw at them and is going to be dangerous. So when I say that no, the Galaxy don't have the weapons, I think defensively the Galaxy are going to give up goals. So I see them giving up at least 2 goals, possibly 3 goals. Now, the good news is that we have a Zlatan. We have a lion in our cage,
right,
and we can let them loose. And when you look at their defense, and they have Michael Parkhurst back there, and you say, okay, Zlatan lined up with Michael Parkhurst, who's going to win that battle? And we're going to give Zlatan the credit there. And then you have Brad Guzan in goal, who is good and is a veteran as he is. If he gives up 1, he can give up 6. He's world famous for letting in goals. So I think if the Galaxy's been knocking on the door, they can get some goals out of here. So I would call this game a draw. I could picture it being a high-scoring affair, like a 3-3, an exciting game. If I were going to be bold, which is what we do over at Guys in Shorts Sports Los Angeles.
Wow, nice plug.
Thank you. I got the shirt. I'm a walking billboard.
Yes. And you're wearing shorts.
Yeah, and I'm wearing shorts, nice. On brand.
Yes.
But if I were to be bold, I would call the goals, because I think Kamara's finally going to get on the board. He's going to get what's coming to him. Zlatan is going to be good for 1. And I think this is the game where Gio comes on the field and he's going to nab 1. He's going to come and he's going to tie the game, and we're going to be singing Gio's praises at the end of this.
I would like to point out that in the chat room, John Cena DuPont is his screen name. Prediction: Atlanta goes up 28-3 on the Galaxy, and we come back to win 31-28. Somebody said a pass from Brady to Zlatan for the win.
Done and done.
It makes a lot of sense. I've been reading people, and they're saying we just got to stop this Atlanta defense. You're not going to stop them. Now you need a disciplined defensive game from the Galaxy.
Yeah, you don't want the wheels to fall off. If the goals come, you don't want them to melt down, because they're going to come.
And that's what Atlanta has done to so many people. You look at LAFC, is they're just capable of just putting their foot down and driving over people. I mean, it's like they run you over. They accidentally hit you the first time. They realize that you're not dead yet. They backed up over you, and then they run you over again, and they keep doing it until you don't get up anymore. Yeah. And of course, you'll remember that the LA Galaxy did go to Atlanta United last year 4-0.
The world famous Jermaine Jones
give up. That was the game Jermaine Jones decided he didn't want to play any part of anymore.
Although we decided much sooner we didn't want him to play any longer.
It certainly seems how it goes. But yeah, people are asking if you're feeling well predicting Giovanni Dos Santos scoring a goal.
You got to be bold.
But be bold.
If he's going to do it, this is the game. This is the time to show up.
If you're going to be wrong, be really wrong. I understand.
Be wrong loud.
Be the loudest wrong person you can be. That's how it is. That's actually how the politics works in this country too. So that's just fine. Listen, I think for the Galaxy, it is going to have to be a disciplined approach on defense. I do think that they have offensive weapons. Do they match up with Atlanta's offensive weapons? Sometimes, yes. I mean, I would certainly say that without Zlatan Ibrahimovic, that you're fighting an uphill battle. I said in the Chicago game that the LA Galaxy had more talent on the field than Chicago. And I feel like in the Atlanta game that it's a lot closer, and that Atlanta may actually have more talent, at least more young, quick talent for sure.
And in the offensive side of the ball also. So I think they're top heavy in that regard, because then when you dig a little deeper and look at the defense, that's where you're going to be able to make your impact. And their defense is held strong, and they have Jeff Larentowicz, who's a poor man's Perry Kitchen over there, and he's doing a serviceable job. But I think the Galaxy is going to be able to break them down. So I see goals on both sides.
Big red Jeff Larentowicz there holding down, playing that defensive midfielder role for Atlanta United. I thought his career may be over whenever he left the LA Galaxy, and he's done a remarkable job over Atlanta United. So he's doing great. You have guys like Darlington Nagbe in the center as well.
That's right. He's coming back.
Yeah, and so, well, no Nigel de Jong to help him wheel off in a wheelchair this time, but Nagbe will be back. You look at the defense, and yes, they play with 3 in the back a lot, but it's really 4 because Jeff Larentowicz is there. Yeah. So that's how that works. I mean, so there's places that the Galaxy can exploit, and I think New York City did a good job finding those holes. But, I mean, you need to have top individual plays. This is not a game where you can expect that, a gifted goal is going to get past Atlanta United. These need to be good efforts, a really good job of switching the attack and making Atlanta shift around. And when you look at it, if you can get behind the midfield, if you can get back into where Larentowicz and Parkhurst and McCann and Gonzalez-Perez are back there, if you can get back into those guys, then that's where you might have some success for the Galaxy, where the talent is then overloaded. It's going to be the same way. If Atlanta can get forward into the defense, they can overload with talent what they have in the Galaxy's defense.
Yeah, Joseph Martinez, running past Daniel Stairs, that's a mismatch.
It is.
So I'm sure it works both ways.
It will. And again, we've talked about the Galaxy. They're a slow defense. Mm-hmm. They're not fast. So this is going to have to be, again, very measured. I wouldn't expect to see Ashley Cole getting forward very much, which hurts you a little bit because that has been an offensive conduit.
But you have to take that trade off.
You have to take it off. You have to take a step backwards. These guys are fast, and they're going to be looking to play in back behind a very slow LA Galaxy team. And don't think for a second that Tata Martinez isn't going to have this team just primed to play against Los Angeles.
Yeah, and against Zlatan. Let's be honest.
What is the game plan against Zlatan? Just hang on him. That's another advantage that you have is that, and this goes for almost any team, but they're not exactly tall, Atlanta. Yeah. So Zlatan Ibrahimovic at 6'5", and I swear to God he's more like 7'4" whenever you stand next to him.
He'll tell you he's 8'4".
Probably. However it works is he is going to be very difficult to mark. So he will be, but I don't want to see the Galaxy just targeting him either.
You don't want I think it was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Give the ball to Will. Pass the Will. Pass the Will. Yeah, you don't want that because then that gets predictable, and that's where you run into a lot of trouble if they fall into that trap. And Zlatan, I think he's too smart to let that happen. If he sees that happening, I feel like he'll give it away so that he doesn't get overmarked.
Well, I think this is going to be a great game. I'm excited to see it.
I'm excited.
Spectrum Sportsnet. Spectrum. Yeah, Eric will be there. I'll be there. Spectrum Sportsnet. Spectrum Deportes. 7:30 p.m. kickoff time, or around 7:30. It's a local. It's local TV.
Don't tell Cosmo that.
It's not going to be like 15 minutes later. Okay, so we might actually be able to get it in and start it on time. So who knows? We'll see. So don't be late there. But a Saturday night game should be a full house. I mean, you would imagine that the majority of the seats there will be filled, and I'm excited to see Atlanta United come in, and I'm excited to see what the Galaxy can do against you. You have a prediction then? Did you already give it?
I gave it 3-3. 3-3 is my prediction. Okay. I love to go to a website called 538. They have the statistics.
So you cheated.
I cheated. But no, but it's 38% LA Galaxy, 37% Atlanta United. So that's a dead heat where they have it, and then a draw being the percentage to round it out. So I see it being just as close.
Wow, I can't. I'll be honest. If I'm going to shade this either way, I'll probably shade it to Atlanta.
The other direction. Yeah, I was surprised to see it that they gave the Galaxy the edge, but it's close.
Yeah.
Regardless or irregardless, as you might say.
Irregardless, it's okay. This isn't a highbrow show. Unless Wendy's on with the big words, we don't have to worry about how that goes. So if anybody's interested in meeting up with me, I always meet up at the bottom of the press box stairs at the top of section 108. So you go to top of section 108, look at the bottom of the press box stairs at halftime. I will be there. I'd love to say hi. I usually have stickers.
Yeah,
you can come
shakes
by.
Hands, kisses babies. I've seen him, yeah.
Yep, that's right. Takes pictures, has a good time. So love to see everybody there. All right, Eric, is there anything else that we can do for you? Would you like to plug where you're at? And we can go?
Me. I'm a guy who's not going to shy away from a shameless plug. Yeah. You can find me on Twitter at GISHammer. You could listen to me on the Guys in Shorts Sports Los Angeles podcast. We record every week. You could find them on Twitter at Guys in Shorts LA. You could also find them on Instagram at Guys in Shorts Sports. Our latest episode, we ask if Shohei Ohtani is the Zlatan of the Angels, of the MLB. So, we make those connections. It's what we do. We also have the Guys in Shorts FC at GIS Soccer Show, And then we have our Kings-specific podcast, Kings Realm. You can find them at Kings Realm Pod. With the Kings being eliminated from the NHL playoffs, it's going to be a must-listen this week for those guys.
I would think that was. All right, if you're looking for me on Twitter, it's at Guesman, JGUESMAN, and of course at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com where you can get COG scarves, COG stickers, all that fun stuff. Click on the shop button and go there. Big thanks and a shout out to Mr. Dan Gargan for coming on the show. He was excellent as always, and it was good to have Gargs back in Los Angeles. That'll be fun to see him around StubHub Center. And of course, a big thanks to Mr. Eric, the Portuguese hammer Joao Pedro lover himself, Vieira, for stopping by the show. We appreciate having you in, buddy. All right, that does it for me. I'm Josh Guesman. You've been listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. We will catch you next time.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast, and be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. And for all of your independent LA Galaxy news, discussion, and entertainment, including this podcast, head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Fans, thanks for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.